Thank you. Welcome everyone. Good evening. Welcome back to auditing lecture. We are on chapter number 4. Very happy to see you all again. And I hope you have been revising. I hope you have been reading and I hope you have been practicing. So welcome back to auditing class. Sit upright. No lying down. Sit upright. Keep your notebook, pen in your hands. Keep some water bottle with you. And we'll get started with our lecture. So we have completed essay number 500, 501, 505, 510. So we have completed all of these essays and today we will be proceeding to essay number 520. Before we proceed to 520, who can quickly tell me that what is the essay number for initial audit engagements? Who can quickly tell me what is the essay number for initial audit engagements? Type it in the chat box. Let's see who answers first. Tanu has answered, but it is wrong. Pooja, yeah. Pooja, your answer is correct. 510 initial audit engagements, opening balances. Perfect. So, now tell me that which essay number is for external confirmation. Who can tell me which essay number is for external confirmation? 505, absolutely correct, Pooja. So again, I think last time also Pooja only won in this fastest finger first, right? So this time also Pooja is leading. So 505, correct for external confirmation. Okay. Now next you have to tell me what is the essay number for identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment. Again, Pooja has won. 315, absolutely correct, Pooja. So Pooja has again won. And the next question, the next essay that I'm going to ask you, see, I will make sure that you learn all the essay numbers and name in this classroom. I will make sure of that, okay? So next essay number, you have to tell me what is the essay number for modified opinions like qualified opinion, adverse opinion, disclaimer of opinion. What is the essay number for that? I taught you in the last class. Kashish has won this time. Kashish has given the first answer. 705. essay number 705. अभी मैंने आपको 700, 720 तो पढ़ाया ही नहीं है. इसका नाम कहाँ से लिख रहे हो? So 705 was for modified opinion. Good. So we have done a quick revision for the essay numbers. Shall we start with today's essay number 520? Can we start with that? All of you ready to learn a new essay? Today's lecture has lots of stories and examples, okay? So we will be doing a lot of examples today because to understand this essay, you need to understand the concept very well. And of course, we will learn the important points. We'll do both those things. So let's start with essay number 520. So essay 520. Now pay attention. Let's say, so who should we make our auditor today? Let's make Pooja our auditor today. Okay. So CA Pooja is auditor of, let's say, Bright Future Limited. Okay. CA Pooja is auditor for Bright Future Limited. Now, CA Pooja is the senior auditor. So she has sent her junior, Mr. Don. CA Don is her junior, okay? CA Don is a junior. Let's say CA, he's not a CA. Let's say he is article. So he's article Don and he has been sent that before I come, you check a few things. And junior, the CA Don is saying very confidently, Madam, I have checked everything. All done. Okay, all done. I told him to check rent. So article Don is saying, I have checked everything, madam. So I ask, so CA Pooja is asking, what have you checked? He says, I have checked rent agreement, ma'am. Done. I have checked bank payments. Done. I have seen that monthly rent as per agreement and as per the bank payment is 50,000 done, and all payments made regularly. So our Don guy is very happy. Our Don guy is also very confident that I have checked everything. All is done. So everything matches. There is no issue. And then Pooja makes a very philosophical statement and says that Don, sometimes the biggest problems hide inside perfectly matching documents. So what is Pooja saying? That sometimes biggest problems are there even though the documents are perfect. And then Don is confused. What is Pooja madam saying? So Pooja asks, okay, everything is tallying. Okay, rent agreement is tallying with bank statement. Everything is tallying. But how much rent do similar companies pay in same area? So now I'm asking Dawn that how much rent are other people paying with similar area and similar square feet, similar size of the place? And then they check industry data. So they find information that what is the rate going on for other people. They get that information and then they compare. So when they check this data, they come to know that others are paying rupees 10,000 only. But what is Bright Future telling? Bright Future is saying that we are paying 50,000 rupees, but other people in the same industry area are paying rupees 10,000 only. Then Dawn is saying, but ma'am, our agreement is clearly saying 50,000, which means they are paying correctly as per the agreement. Why do we have to question it? And then Pooja is like smiling. Pooja is saying, documents are correct, but the relationship of the actual data with the comparative data is abnormal. What is saying? As per document, everything appears to be correct. So what did Dawn do? Dawn did all the vouching and verification. Okay. As per document, everything appears to be correct. But the relationship of industry data with company data is appearing to be abnormal. Now, what do you think are the risks? What do you think? What can be the reason? What do you think can be the reasons? Can anyone type? What do you think can be the reasons for such an abnormality? Let's see. What do you think? Think like an auditor. There is some collusion. There's some collusion fraud happening. Why do you think people do like this? Why do you think what is the motivation behind doing this? How does company benefit by doing this? Collusion, fraud. How does the company benefit? I'm asking you. Think like an auditor. It can help with income tax. Income tax is the final goal. Yes, to decrease the profit, reduce tax, reduced income. Very good. It is to show and inflate your expenses. See how I am using an auditor's language to inflate the expenses. Okay. So what can be the reasons? We have to now inquire further. Am I going to inquire further now? Am I going to ask more questions? Am I going to ask more questions now? Or does my job end after seeing that rent agreement is tallied? No. So I can ask, first question can be, is landlord related party to the company? Is landlord a related party to the company? Maybe they are diverting money from company. Okay. Maybe collusion, fraud arrangement. So how do people do this? What is the fraud arrangement? That, let's say there is an agreement between me and some other person that in my bank account, I'll show you 50,000 rupees payment. Underhand, you pay me 40,000 rupees in cash. Have you heard about this? People do this, and it is a fraud that auditors have to be very cautious about. So I am paying you from my bank. I'm giving you an entry of 50,000 rupees. 50,000 comes to you, but there is an arrangement that underhand you will pay me 40,000 rupees cash. So the companies can engage in such frauds. Now, do you think that if we would have checked only documents and tallied documents with the what? With the bank statement, would you have found this issue? Would you have been able to detect this issue if you would have just compared the rent agreement with bank payments? No, because that anyone can do, right? But as a CA, where do our value lies? Where does our value lie? It is in understanding and noticing such patterns. So by doing some comparison and analysis, you are able to detect unusual patterns. And this is called as analytical procedures. Do you understand? Does this number make sense compared to other numbers? That, in short, is basically your analytical procedures. Do you want more examples? Shall I explain to you with few more examples? Or is it clear? Absolutely clear? All right. Do you want to see the book now? So I've given you just one example. During the whole essay 520, we will understand a lot of different ways in which these things can happen, and in which, because of which these problems can happen. So we will see a lot of different things. Okay. Ma'am, can you give one more example? Okay. Let me give you one more example. Then during the chapter, I'll give you many examples. Okay, just one more example because two students have asked for it. Let's say last year, the sales was 5 crores. And this year, the sales are 9 crores. Okay. But the factory size, machines, employees, comparative production does not appear to be very different. They all appear to be similar to last year. They all appear to be similar to last year. So if sales have increased by almost 80%, what is the question you have? What have I checked any invoice yet? Have I done any vouching till now? Have I checked even one sale bill? Have I done anything? No. But by just doing this small comparison, can I know the direction of my audit? Can I know whether I have to start my audit with little more skepticism? Yes. So this is also an example of analytical procedure. Okay. Done. All right. Let's look into the book now. Now the essay that we are studying, this whole analytical procedures is covered by essay number 520. Very small, cute name. Analytical procedures. Okay. Now, if you look into the book, meaning of analytical procedure, here you don't have to memorize any definition. Definition will come later on. Okay. So this is for an understanding of the meaning. So the one thing that you have to remember here, I'll make you underline. Since routine checks cannot be dependent upon to disclose all mistakes and manipulation, you have to apply other procedures like comparison, trend, ratio analysis, which are collectively known as overall test. So if you see this word in exam, another name for analytical procedure, don't get confused. It's rarely used, but if it comes, don't get confused. Overall test means analytical procedure. So CARF wants to verify payments. Can you see? I have given you this example. I have explained to you like a story. Rent is 50,000 rupees. Rent agreement as per it is 10,000. So this point is already done. So how do you write it? If CARF checks in details, he may find that payments are consistent with rent agreement and same is getting reflected. Your CARF may not be able to find any inconsistency in rent agreement with respect to rent payment prevalent in same industry for rent. But if CARF applies analytical procedure with the similar payments made by companies in similar industry, he will notice an inconsistency in such payments as other companies are paying very less. However, if CARF does not make such comparison and only checks the monthly payments, he would not have found such inconsistency and the misstatement may remain undetected. Is that clear? So after we find this inconsistency, does it automatically mean that there is some fraud? Does it automatically mean that there is some fraud? No. We will take some steps to find whether there is any misstatement or not. Maybe the company has a genuine reason of why they are paying 50,000, but they have to provide the evidence and information to us, which can satisfy which can give us a satisfactory evidence and conclusion. Okay. So now your definition will come. Let's see how to learn and memorize this definition. This definition is quite important. I'm telling you now itself. This definition is quite important. Pay attention, everyone. So, yeah. First, pay attention. So basically, analytical procedure is an evaluation. What is it primarily? It is an evaluation. Evaluation of what? Evaluation of financial information. Evaluation of financial information. How are we analyzing this financial information? Financial information is analyzed through analysis of plausible relationships. So, here in the above example, what relationship did we create? We created a relationship between rent of our company and rent of industry in similar area. So you create some sort of comparative relationship. Plausible means some sort of comparative possible relationship between two things. Let's say, does the rent I pay, does it have a relationship with square feet of the space? Do the rent I pay have a relationship with the square feet of the space I am using? Yes. The total wages I'm paying, does it have a relationship with number of workers? The total wages I'm paying, does it have a relationship with number of workers? If I'm a manufacturing company like a cottage industry, number of units produced, does it have a relationship with total wages and total number of workers? Number of units produced. Does credit sales, does data have a relationship with total sales? Does data have a relationship with, so what are these? These are different relationships. Okay. So when you are trying to analyze or evaluate a financial information by analyzing plausible relationships, relationship between both financial data and non-financial data. Okay. Tell me this, rent is a financial data or non-financial data? Rent is a financial data or non-financial data? Okay. Plausible means possible information. Plausible means a relationship that has some connection or relativity to it. That is plausible, possible. Okay. Where was I? Financial data. Someone asked this question. Plausible, you understood? Okay. So the rent I am paying is financial data. But if I'm comparing rent with square feet of space, so square feet is a financial data or a non-financial data? Square feet is a financial data or non-financial data? Quickly tell me non-financial. Total wages paid. Total wages paid is what kind of data? Financial data or non-financial data? Total wages paid, financial data. Total number of workers. Total number of workers is what data? Financial or non-financial? Non-financial. So can there be relationship between two non-financial and non-financial data when we are trying to do analysis? But can there also be relationship between two financial data? If I'm comparing total sales with gross profit, if I'm comparing total sales with gross profit, are both financial data? Yes. Who decides and who analyzes, who finds connection between two data? Whose job it is to find connection between two data? Auditor. Okay. So what is analytical procedure? Analytical procedure is evaluation. Evaluation of what? Financial information. Why? To analyze plausible relationship between financial data and non-financial data. Can you remember this much? This is one part. Now there's second part of the definition. First part is clear? Everyone? Please pay attention to the class today. You're learning something very important that will help you in your whole life as an auditor, not just to clear your intermediate. Analytical procedures help you become a good auditor. Your ability to do analytical procedures will create the difference between a bad auditor and a good auditor and a better auditor and a best auditor. So an auditor's ability to analyze actually decides how good of an auditor you become and how much your client values you. More than client, how much public values you, because we mostly work for public and not our clients. Okay. So first part is done. Now in analytical procedure, second part of definition is also there. What the second part of the definition says? It says it also encompasses such investigation as necessary. So when we did this landlord thing, after finding that the competitors are paying only 10,000 rupees, what did we start doing? We start doing investigation that was necessary. Why it was necessary? Because we have found some abnormal pattern. Understood? So what is analytical procedure? It is I am not muted. Am I muted?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Ashok, please check your phone or laptop or PC, whatever you are using. I'm speaking with volume only. Okay. So yeah. Analytical procedure means they also encompass such investigation as is necessary for what? Investigation is done after identifying any abnormal thing or before? Tell me quickly. After you have identified something, right? Okay. So, an investigation as necessary of identified fluctuations or relationship that were inconsistent that were inconsistent. Now, inconsistent can be with two things. Ya to they are inconsistent with other relevant information. What does it mean? In rent case, it was inconsistent with other relevant information, means the rent that was paid by the competitors. Let's say that you are not able to find the rent paid by the competitors. You don't get that data. Is it possible कि हमें पता ना चले कि हमारे पड़ोसी क्या पे कर रहा है? Is it possible that we are not able to get that figure? Okay. So we were not able to find a relevant information to compare the rent with. But I have created my own expected values. So let's say I have a good knowledge of everyone who is paying rent in Racecourse Road due to my own past experiences. And then I have created an expectation that the rent in this area should not be more than 20,000 rupees. So if we don't have enough information, can we have expectations of information? अगर आप, if you are an auditor and you go to audit a company and they tell you that there are 20 employees and then they tell you that the tea coffee bill is 5 lakh rupees. What do you think? Do you think it is correct? 10 employees, 20 employees are there and the chai coffee bill for the year is why? How did you decide that this does not appear to be correct or this appears to be abnormal? How did you decide? How did you decide? Because you already, your brain has an expectation because you know the market, you know the rate. So what will you think? You'll think 20 people, even if I apply that 3 teas per day, or even if the tea costs 10 rupees per day, it should not be more than 80,000 to 1 lakh rupees. What did you do? You created an expected value. What is your expected value of tea and coffee expenses? How much expected range you have created? We have created an expected range of how much? Quickly tell me. 80,000 to 1 lakh rupees. Yes or no? So if it is more than my expected value, will I investigate it further? Will I investigate it further that were they getting coffee every day from Starbucks or what? Or Blue Tokai? Where were they getting their coffee from? Is company sponsoring every day from Starbucks? So that the question will come to you. So the first part of analytical procedure is that you evaluate financial information by evaluating and analyzing relationship between financial data and non-financial data. When you do this analysis, you find some fluctuations or abnormalities. So then you do investigation of these identified fluctuations and relationships that are inconsistent with either the information that you have or with your expected values. Now, does the whole definition make sense? It's a very good definition. Don't you think it's a very well written definition? So there's a part one. So when I am doing initial analysis, that is also analytical procedure. And after identifying fluctuation and abnormality, when I'm investigating further, that is also analytical procedure. So both things are analytical procedure. So when we evaluate financial information to analyze plausible relationship between a financial data and a non-financial data, that is also analytical procedure. And after identifying fluctuations, any fluctuations or relationships, we investigate because they are inconsistent with either the information or expected values. Can you remember this definition? It's a little big definition. Technical words are also there, but do you think you can try to remember it? Everyone? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay. I'm happy to know that. All right. So definition is done. Very important. Now, again, I'll give you an example. Pay attention. Let's say that a company has many factories. A company has a lot of factories and you are trying to do analytical procedures. Okay. So there are wages paid by the company. Wages paid by the company. Now, there are a lot of wages paid, and it is not possible sometimes to check each and every wage. Okay. And sometimes the workers are also seasonal workers. There are day-to-day laborers whom you cannot find or trace, and you cannot call and send external confirmation. So there are some wages paid. So, what is the analysis that we can do here? The analysis that we can do here is we can take total wages equals to wages per worker into total number of workers. Of course, in real life, you will have to divide this into different types of worker, then different categories of worker. All these work you have to do. I'm giving you a very simplistic idea. These analytical procedure will require a lot of information to be broken down into individual data. And then you can do the analytical procedures better. But to just give you a simple example, that doing something like this can also help you give wages. Till here, everyone clear? Okay. If you have to tell me without me telling you, I'll give you 20 seconds, 30 seconds also if you want. Write down all the keywords without looking at the definition I just taught you. Just try to remember. Don't look in the book. Just try and write all the keywords in one sentence. Don't try to send one word. Write all the keywords of the definition so that when you write an exam, you should remember those keywords. Try to think on your own and tell me what will be the keywords that will help you remember the definition. Tell me quickly. One word. Don't send one word. Write the whole thing and send in one sentence. Both two parts of the definition, not just part A. Tell me all the keywords. Good, good. I'm seeing some answers, but don't send individually. I cannot keep track. That's why I told you, even if it takes some time, we are not doing a competition now. Take time, but write all the keywords that you can think of. Kashish has sent for one. Let me see how many of you are thinking of same keywords. Gayatri has written the full definition. But yeah, you can remember the whole definition also. Okay, okay. All right. I think most of you have been able to get it correctly. Okay. I have received out 25 responses already. Good. Okay. Let's see. So what will be your main keywords? Very good, Nikunj. Nikunj has sent a proper, the way I wanted it. Evaluation, financial information, plausible, financial and non-financial, investigation, necessary, identified fluctuation, inconsistent relationship, expected value, relevant information. Okay. So try to remember your definition perfectly by remembering individual words. Then grammar से connect तो अपने आप हो जाएगा. You will be able to connect them. But remember the main keywords that we focused on, that I stressed on when we were doing the definition work. Okay? Everyone can get full marks in definition now. Okay, very good. I'm happy to see that. Now, if we'll come to the book, the book has given you a few examples. Let's see the bookish examples. All this done, okay? So here, just mark this as important. And don't forget to write essay number 520 in exam. Don't forget to write essay number 520. So everything is done in this, nothing pending. This example also I have covered. Now come to this, examples of analytical procedures. So if I compare myself with previous year, so if I compare previous year sale to current year sale, is that analytical procedure, students? If I'm comparing last year sale to current year sale, simple analytical procedure. Okay. We'll do this example later on. Let me first finish this. If I'm comparing with budgets and forecast, is that also an analysis? So let's say budget for advertisement expenditure was 10 lakh and actual was 40 lakhs. Will you ask questions? Will you ask questions? In the start of the year, so you budgeted only 10 lakh rupees for advertisement. Why have you spent 40 lakhs? So you can ask this question. What is that? Analytical procedure. So comparing with forecast, comparing with budgets, comparing with expectations of auditor. All this is also analytical procedure. Then comparing with industry information. This I already told you. Can I compare if I am producing, let's say I am making biscuits. So can I compare my wastage with the other competitor who also makes biscuits? Can I compare my normal wastage percentage? Yes, we can know that in biscuit industry, there is a 5%, let's say, just example, let's say there is a 5% wastage. So if in industry, if in another biscuit factories, 5 to 6% only is wastage, and in my industry, there's 15%. Should auditor raise questions? Now, can you raise these questions if you don't have good knowledge of the industry? Can I raise all these questions if I don't understand the biscuit industry, if I don't have knowledge about biscuit industry, if I don't understand what are the common features of a biscuit industry? So do you remember I told you one thing, that CAs have to learn literally how to do business and how the business works. Okay. That is why over a period of time, as you become more and more older in your 30s, 40s, especially when you reach 45, 50, you will create a specialization field in which you'll become a master. Lot of CAs do that. So someone can be a master in, let's say, silk industry. Someone can be a master in FMCG audit. Someone can be master in heavy machinery manufacturing audit. Someone can be more master in petroleum industry. You will see in many movies, most of the production houses are using these 4 5 auditors only because they have become masters in movie industry. So with time period, we become extremely knowledgeable about few industries. Okay. And if I am an auditor who is 50 years old and who has 25 years of experience, but I have experience only in textile and diamond industry. And if I get audit at the age of 50, I am very, very popular auditor. I am well respected. But at the age of 55, I am getting audit of a leather manufacturer. Do you think I'll be like a new person to do the audit there? Do you think my situation will be lot of like a new person because I have to study the whole leather industry? What is the norms in the leather industry? So we have to do all that. That is why I told you analysis gives you value as an auditor, because the more you understand the industry, more business knowledge you have, the better auditor you become because you'll be able to analyze better. Let's see this example. So this you understood? Comparison with previous year is analysis. Comparison with budgets is analysis. Compare with other industry is also analysis. Okay. CA Brijesh, while verifying the traveling expenses of PRT, may compare the traveling expenses of current year of 2.5 lakhs with previous year of 2 lakhs and infer that an increase of 25% in traveling expenses have happened in the company. Then CA Brajesh may compare the percentage increase with the trend of earlier years. So you can check that every year, if the traveling expense increase was only 5%, but this year the increase is 25%. Why did this happen? You can ask more questions. CA Brajesh can use comparable information of prior period while applying analytical procedure with respect to expenses. Okay. Now, example of analytical procedure with respect to relationships. So, elements of financial information that creates a predictable pattern like gross margin. So, everyone knows GP ratio, NP ratio, stock turnover ratio, debt equity ratio, all these things you know. So, if you are an auditor and you are doing a lot of ratio analysis, what are you actually doing? Which essay you are applying? If you are doing a lot of ratio analysis, which essay you are applying? If you are doing a lot of ratio analysis, which essay you are applying? Essay 520. Then if you create comparison between financial information and non-financial information like payroll to the cost of number of employees, again you are doing essay 520. Now, how to write this in exam? So let's say you have gotten a short note. So suppose in exam you have gotten a question, write a short note on analytical procedures and it is for 3 marks or 4 marks. What will you do? You will write this definition. Okay. You will start with this full definition. This itself will be for around 2 marks. So write this definition, then skip all this and then write these examples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. You understood what to write if you get short note question in exam? You have to write the definition first, this full definition, and then sorry students, I don't know what is happening. My app got updated automatically. Auto updation. I should turn it off. It's an inherent risk. I should apply some control systems to reduce the risk. Okay, so where was I? So if you get a question for analytical procedure, write down this definition and then write down these 5 examples. Okay. So these are just illustrations. So if the client is there, your inventory turnover is 2.8, client 2.9, 22.5, 22.7. Industry is 3.1, 2.8, 23.6, 22. Do you see major fluctuation? Anything that is alarming if you compare with previous year or with industry? Do you see anything very alarming or very problematic in this? No? Okay, that's it. So various methods you can use. So again, this is just example. As I told you, that majority of this chapter is a lot of examples. So do you have to learn this? Quickly tell me illustration 11 not to be learned. Do you have to learn all this? No. So you have to learn this definition and then you have to learn these 5 types and examples of analytical procedures. Now let's come to little theoretical part, scope, objective, because no essay can be without a scope and objective point. Okay. Every essay will have a scope and objective. So essay 520, what is the scope? And objective. So, the scope and objective are written similarly. So I'll first tell you objective, then you can understand the scope easily. So the objective, let's come. What is the objective of essay? This thing, 520. It is to obtain relevant and reliable audit evidence when using substantive analytical procedure. I'll explain you the meaning, okay? And second objective is to design and perform analytical procedure near the end. Why near the end? It helps in giving overall conclusion. Overall conclusion. Okay. So, to make you understand this part, first I have to remind you of something. Do you remember our basic flow chart? The basic flow chart of audit procedures was risk assessment procedure, then you do further audit procedures, then you do test of controls, and then you do substantive procedures. And in substantive procedures, you do test of details, and then you do analytical procedures. In test of details, you do vouching and verification. How many of you remember this basic? I told you that this you should always remember. This is your basic audit. How many of you remember this flow chart? I told you in chapter number 1, chapter number 2, chapter number 3. 3 times I have explained this to you. At least 3 times. How many of you remember this? Yes. Okay. But now, how many of you remember that in any audit procedure, to do any audit procedure, we use 7 methods to obtain audit evidence? Who can tell me those 7 methods? Let's see. Write in one sentence all the 7 methods. Don't try to look in the book. You can't. Try to think on your own. What are the 7? I'll wait for you. Okay, but write in one. Don't write like this. Write in one go. What were the methods to obtain audit evidence? Let's see. I told you that even in sleep you should remember. Yes, okay. 4 people have written at exactly same time. So Karan, Suhaira, Tanu, Mehak. All of you have written at the exact same time, all 7. Inspection, external confirmation, analytical procedure, reperformance, recalculation, inquiry. Yes. Okay. So do you notice one thing? That in methods to opt-in, I'm very happy so many of you wrote. How many of you wrote without looking into the book? How many of you wrote with your memory? How many of you were able to write with your memory? Me, Pooja, Nikunj, Mehak, Karan. Very good. Tanu, Suhaira, Karan. Very good. I'm very happy. So, did you notice one common word in methods and in procedures? Which is one common word in methods and procedures? In methods and procedures, which is the common? Here also we wrote inquiry, inspection, observation, recalculation, reperformance. Those who have not written, external confirmation, I'm writing for you. And there was analytical procedures. So anything you do in audit, whether you do risk assessment, whether you do substantive procedure, whether you do test of control, anything you do in audit, you use these 7 things, right? So analytical procedure is used as a general procedure also, and it is used as a substantive procedure also. What is the difference? Okay, let me give you a small example. Let's say, again, we'll do the sale to explain to you. This is very important to understand for this chapter, okay? Pay attention. So this is just for your concept understanding. So you are still auditing like Bright Future Limited. Okay? And you notice that last year sales was 10 crores. And this year, current year, it is 18 crores. But as usual, the size, the number of employees, production capacity, they all are looking the same. So that's a huge jump. How does the analysis begin? So the initial analytical procedure. I am only doing to understand the business. What analysis am I doing? These are the questions I can ask. How much did the sale grow compared to last year? Did the industry also had a boom period? Did the production increase? Did the prices increase? What was the growth rate in past 7 years? What is the gross profit ratio? I am not trying to prove that sales are correct or not. Am I trying to prove that sales are correct or not? I'm just trying to understand the entity. I'm trying to understand their sales. That's it. So I am not trying to prove that sales is correct or not. I'm just understanding the situation and identifying unusual areas. Okay. I have identified unusual areas. So I have found that sales grew by 80%, but production increased by only 10%, I should investigate this further. So, till now, did I do substantive procedure? Till now, do you think I did substantive procedure? Any substantive procedure is done. What does substantive procedure help you find? Helps you identify misstatements. Have I found any misstatements till now? So it means right now the analytical procedure I am doing, is it that analytical procedure that we saw here? Is it this analytical procedure or a general analytical procedure? Is it a general analytical procedure or substantive analytical procedure? General. But then how will this happen? So usually this general analysis that I'm doing, it is usually done in planning stage, risk assessment stage, or overall review. Now let's see how will I use it as substantive. Okay, substantive analytical procedure. So what I will think that if now let's use it as substantive analytical procedure. If production increased by only 10%, sales should be around 11 to 12 crores only, not 18 crores. What did I just develop? What did I just develop right now? Go back to the definition. What did I just develop? I developed an expected value. So according to my analysis, what should be the sales range? Within what range should the sales be? 11 to 12 crores. But it is 18 crores. So expected sales, expected sales 11 crores. Actual sales 18 crores. Difference 7 crores. And now I will investigate this difference. Understood? Now I'll investigate this difference. So this difference I can investigate further. So now what am I doing? Now I am doing substantive analytical procedure. Do you understand? So what is the purpose of doing substantive analytical procedure? Obtaining audit evidence whether any misstatement is there or not. So when we initially try to, at the planning stage, at risk assessment stage, or at overall review stage, when we're trying to understand, that time when we are doing analysis, it is analytical procedures. But when we are doing analytical procedures to find some evidence that can help us identify some misstatements specifically, that use of analytical procedure is called as analytical procedure, substantive analytical procedure. Does everyone understand? Now come back to the objective. What does objective say? Essay 520 says that the major first objective of analytical procedure essay, to make this essay, the purpose of this essay is so that you can obtain evidence when using analytical procedure as a substantive analytical procedure. Okay, firstly, everyone tell me, is everyone with me? I'm explaining you a lot of concepts today. Is everyone with me? Absolutely clear? Okay. Okay. So the first objective of this essay is to obtain relevant and reliable evidence when you're using analytical procedure as a substantive analytical procedure. And the second objective of this essay is to design and perform analytical procedure near the end to give an overall conclusion. So usually when the auditor has done all the vouching, verification, everything you have finished, you just do an overall analysis. Does it appear to be fair? Hamara opinion is what? True and fair, right? So after everything is finished, after you have found evidence for everything, after you have vouched, verification, everything you had done, can you do analytical procedure at the end to just see an overview, and finally after doing the analysis you can give your final conclusion? Can you do that? Yes. So to use analytical procedure in these two ways properly, and how to use it properly, that is taught by this essay number 520. Okay, that is taught by this essay number 520. Everyone clear? So do you have to remember this objective? Tell me. Do you have to remember this? Yes, you have to remember. Okay. Suppose in a question it is given, what is analytical procedure and what are the objectives of analytical procedure? So this point you will mention when it is asked in exam. So objective of essay 520, properly write with name and number. Objective is to obtain relevant and reliable audit evidence when using substantive analytical procedure, and to design and perform analytical procedure near the end of audit to assist the auditor when forming an overall conclusion whether financial statement appear to be consistent with auditor's understanding. Okay. Let's move on to the next. So if you will see, these 3 pages are full of examples. Okay. These full 3 pages are of examples. We'll go through a few examples. Okay. So in this, you just have to read up the examples which have been given. All right. So first come here. Overall test can be done inter-firm and intra-firm. Can anyone tell me the difference? What is intra-firm and what is inter-firm? What is the difference between inter-firm and intra-firm? What is the difference? Very good. Very good. Good. Inter means with others, Nikunj has written, and intra means within the entity but with different departments. Inter-firm means between 2 firms, and intra means within same firms. Very good. Good, good. I think everyone knows. So overall test, we can do inter-firms also and intra-firms also, which means with others. And this is the entity. Okay. Within different departments of the entity. So inter means with others and intra means within the entity. So a lot of examples are given. We'll go through a few things. It would be possible to compare the balances on P&L or with previous periods so that you can find reasons for increase or decrease. You can check certain expenses ratio in balance sheet and you can compare them with previous period and you can see if there is any increase or decrease. If differences are found to be material, Then you have to find the reasons and whether accounts have been manipulated. Okay, anything to memorize here? Anything to memorize? Okay, it is just for understanding. See, when I am explaining you, I am giving you so many examples, right? So imagine if someone is studying on their own at home, okay? So they should also be able to understand the topic fully, right? So the material is to ensure that everyone is understanding also, and there is some things to learn, some things to understand. Let's see a few examples here. In XYZ Limited, after applying analytical procedure as comparison to gross profit with previous year, it has been discovered there was fall in ratio. Which ratio? GP ratio में fall है. Okay? There is a fall in GP ratio. It became necessary to auditor to make further inquiries. It may be due to pilferage of inventory, misappropriation of sale proceeds, change in cost of sales without corresponding increase in the sales price. So you have to have an expectation that what can be the reasons, and you have to check those reasons. Okay. So on verifying sundry accounts receivable, what does it mean by sundry accounts? Pilferage means small petty thefts. Okay. Pilferage means small petty thefts. Okay. Clear, Suhaira? Okay. On verifying the balances of sundry accounts receivable, what is it? Datus. By obtaining the confirmation. What does it mean by confirmation? SA 505 you have used. Okay. It will be possible for the auditor to find out whether the discrepancy in balance is due to failure to debit the account with cost of goods supplied, or is it result of some non-adjustment of remittance received. So either you have given something and you forgot to make the entry, or you have not adjusted some money that you have received from them. Discrepancy means difference. Any kind of difference. So these are some examples. So when you're checking data and there is a difference. So as per my books, the amount is 20 lakh rupees. As per the external confirmation, they are saying it's 21 lakh rupees. So either I have not, some sale has happened of 1 lakh rupees and I forgot to debit it. And if the difference is negative, if mine is 20 lakh and they are showing 18 lakhs, the difference is because they have given some money and I forgot to put it in my account, or someone collected the cash and ran away with it and did not tell me. So any reason it could be. So when you are doing any kind of analysis, you have to know why it could happen. What can be the reason that it could happen? So all these points are given. You can just go through them. This I have already understood with you. Okay. Let's see how many of you understand this. It is possible to independently verify the correctness of some of the items expenses included in the P&L. For instance, the cost of importing goods which are subjected to ad valorem duty at uniform rate can be verified from the amount of duty paid. What does this mean? Can you guess? Let's see if any of you can even guess what it means. The cost of importing goods which are subjected to an ad valorem duty at uniform rate can be verified from the amount of duty paid itself. What does it mean? Anyone? You can raise your hand. I'll allow you to speak. My attempt is slowly, I want to build your critical thinking also. I want to build your analytical ability. So, पढ़ाने के साथ साथ में मैं आपकी थोड़ी सॉफ्ट स्किल डेवलप करना चाहती हूँ कि आप पढ़ के एनालाइज कर पाते हैं, आप उसको मुझे कम्युनिकेट कर पाते हैं बोलकर, समझाकर. So I want to develop a little bit of these skills also for you. Okay? Yes, Ramachandran, please let me know.
Now, what it means is that if, for example, the uniform rate is say of duty say 5%, then
Okay.
we know exactly the total value. We can easily calculate the total value. because 5% is say 1,000 rupees, then we can calculate say what is 100%. So that is what it means.
Very good. Very good. Ad valorem means at value. Okay. Very good, Ramachandran.
Ready, huh?
Ma'am, you're muted.
How did I get muted? Okay. So very good, Ramachandran. I'll just explain to you with an example. Okay. Let's say you have a duty receipt in your hand. Okay. Import receipt. Okay. So as on 31st 12, you are seeing that you have paid 10% duty. This duty is very stable and you have paid 10,000 rupees. Can you calculate value of goods that should be shown in the inventory register on that day and should be entered in the accounts? What should be the value of goods? If it is ad valorem, yes, which means the value of goods that should be shown in the register that day should be 1 lakh. So is this also a kind of analytical procedure? By looking at taxes, I can know that what should be the valuation of inventory. Do you understand now? By looking at taxes paid, I can verify the valuation of inventory. So it's a good example, right? So cost of importing goods which are subjected to ad valorem duty at a uniform rate can be verified. Similarly, the quantity of sugar sold by sugar mill can be verified independently from the amount of GST paid. Yes or no? This is actually used by a lot of CAs. By checking the GST returns and the GST paid, all these things helps you that what can be the expected value of total sales. Do you know that? By just seeing the amount of GST paid, you can get an expected approximate value that you can expect as sales in the financial statements. Okay. Now, it is important to note that analytical procedure may help you identify the existence of unusual transactions or events, amounts, ratios, and trends that can indicate matters that have audit implications. Unusual or unexpected relationships that are identified may assist the auditor in identifying risk of material misstatement, especially risk of material misstatement due to fraud. So one of the most important things, do you know that it is very, very rare that you will find fraud by doing just vouching? Most of the time, you will find frauds by actually doing analysis. So there was one case that there was one electronics shop. A very small local tax audit was there. Okay. There was one electronics shop. The files had come to the auditor. Okay. Usually these are small audits. So the auditor, there were electronics. So what did he see? That the inventory, they have TV, fridge, oven, all these things they have. Okay. So the inventory was showing 3 crores. Let's say 30 crores. I told a small business, but okay, just for example. So the inventory is showing 30 crores. Okay. And they have all the bills. All documents are perfect. All documents are perfect. Okay. Gada Electronics. Okay. Let's not do any Tarak Mehta ka ulta chashma here. So not everyone will get that reference. So inventory, 30 crores, all bills, documents are perfect. But then you see rent paid. And then you see rent agreement. And the shop is 120 square feet. That is the total shop. They don't have any go down. This is the only place they have. What do you think is the analysis here? What do you think can be Can there be a plausible relationship between these two? Can there be a plausible relationship between the size of the office or godown and the inventory value? What do you think seems to be abnormal here? What, according to you, is abnormal in this situation? Anyone wants to speak? What do you think is abnormal in this situation? Yes, Gayatri has given the answer. Less space and more inventory held. How can there be 30 crore? Okay. Yes, how can there be 30 crore of inventory in 120 square feet, ma'am? 12 by 10 shop. Okay. This is the total rent available. Go down, there's nothing else. They don't own any other building. There's only one rent agreement. And this is the rent agreement found. So now I will analyze further. Now will I investigate further? Can I say fraud has happened? No. What will I do now? Investigate further. So what if they tell me that we are right, 30 crore inventory is there with us, but I can show you it is because we have 3 diamond attached iPhones that we have made for a billionaire. They are yet to take delivery from us. So we have kept 3 full diamond, real diamond, pink diamond and gold phones with us. And like that, we have many such gold oven someone wants, diamond oven. So we give specialized services for billionaires. Now they justify it for you. Now does it seem okay? Now do you think it's possible that in a small space, there can be a lot of inventory? So if they prove it to you, can you accept it? With documents, everything they prove it to you, can you accept it then? Yes. But most likely, it is possible that they can also receive goods on consignment basis. Is it possible? But if it's on consignment basis, then their revenue recognition and their classification is wrong. They are saying, no, we have lots of goods. But if it's received on consignment basis, can they show as their own inventory? No. So you can ask further questions and investigate what is the reason behind this abnormality. Done? So that's it. We are done with this part. What was this part? The purpose of analytical procedures. Purpose is finished. Now tell me, is analytical procedure only used at the end of the audit? No. Inventory is used in planning phase, in testing phase, and in completion phase. Throughout the audit, when planning also, when testing also, when completion also. Completion, why do we use? To get an overall view of, to form a conclusion. So analytical procedure is used in all phases. Please remember this for MCQ. Please remember this for MCQ purpose. Okay. So it can be used in all these ways. Completed? Okay. We'll go on a 10 minutes break now and we'll be back in 10 minutes. Tech team, we are going for a 10-minute break. हाँ जी, टेक्निकल हाँ Let me know quickly. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Okay. All right. So, you know that as an auditor, it will be very important that when you are starting to plan the audit, which means you have not done any vouching right now, you have not done any verification, you don't have any bills in your hand. All you have is a basic, let's say, draft financial statements you have in your hand. You have last year's audit papers. You have some basic documents, but you don't have a lot of details and you have not started doing the audit. So in planning stage, it can assist the auditor in understanding the client's business and identifying areas of potential risk. So what does it mean by identifying risk areas at planning stage itself? So let's say Tanu comes to me as client and she's just sitting with me talking to me. I am saying, okay, I have accepted her work 1 week back and she has come now for the first meeting after acceptance. And she's just showing me her basic financial statements for last year and this year. And I just see immediately and I say, Tanu, your this, let's say, transportation cost, Tanu, has increased so much. Last year it was just 10 lakh and this year it has become 60 lakhs. So do I know that immediately during planning stage itself, do I know that I have to check transport expenses in detail? Do I know now itself that I have to do further investigation in transport expenses by just having this area, by just looking at financial statements and identifying areas of risk? Is transport expense an area of risk now? If last year it was 10 lakhs, this year it has become 60 lakhs, does it become area of risk? Yes. Okay. So that is how it helps during the planning stage itself. So identifying areas of potential risk. Is it confirmed that it is a risk? No, it is a potential risk area. Okay. The information will assist auditor in determining nature, timing, and extent of other audit procedures. Analytical procedure in planning use both financial data and non-financial information like number of employees, square feet of selling space, volume of goods produced. All this information you can use in planning. Okay. That's it. This much is there. Then substantive analytical procedure. If you want to use analytical procedure as a substantive analytical procedure, okay? Remember like this, AP as SAP. What does it mean? If I want to use analytical procedure as a substantive analytical procedure. So let me give you an example. Let's say there is cash. Last year it was 10 lakh. This year also it is 10 lakh 50,000. Any major fluctuation in cash? Tell me. Any major fluctuation in cash? So by just doing substantive analytical procedure, can I say cash is same or do I need to still count the cash? Do I still need to be part of the counting? Physical inspection and vouching should I need to do? Or can I just rely on analytical procedure? Tell me the answer. Don't say yes, no. Gayatri is saying we can rely on analytical procedure. We can rely on the analytical procedure. Josh is saying vouchers are mandatory. No major cash changes in cash. Karan is saying so we can rely on analytical procedure. No, ma'am, we need not count the cash. This is what I'm going to teach you now. That you cannot use substantive analytical procedure as a final evidence for everything. You can use it as a corroborative evidence in some cases and as a final evidence in some cases. In cash, can we use only substantive analytical procedures? No, because cash are highly volatile and highly risk area in which there is a clear guidance from the practice of audit that you cannot just look at analysis, you need to go deeper in it. And substantive analytical procedure can give you some evidence, but it is not sufficient evidence. Do you understand? So when we are trying to use analytical procedure as substantive analytical procedure, we have to see what kind of item we are verifying. So, factors to be considered for substantive analytical procedures. Factors to be considered for substantive analytical procedures. So we are going to do this question now. I'm going to do it like a story first, then we will come to the theory of the book. Everyone ready for the story? A continuous story, okay? Pay attention. So, as usual, we'll take Mr. Don as our CA, okay? Mr. Don is our CA. Again, we'll take Bright Future Limited. Bright Future Limited. Now you notice something. Mr. Don has noticed something that last year, the salary was rupees 50 lakhs. This year, almost same number of employees, but 80 lakhs. Okay. But the salary has become 80 lakhs. So now Mr. Don is thinking, maybe this is normal or maybe something is wrong. Let me see and let me perform a substantive analytical procedure. So what are the factors they'll consider when they are taking this decision? So let's say the first thing. First question Mr. Don will ask, is this expense predictable enough to create a pattern for me to analyze? Do you think salary is usually a stable and a predictable item? Yes. So you think of this answer? Yes. Because usually number of employees don't change very drastically. And usually salary structures in bigger companies also have a proper way of doing things. So is it a very volatile item? No, it's not a very volatile item. So the first question before you start using substantive analytical procedure is you have to see whether it is predictable. Yes, okay. Then analytical procedure may work. Second factor, second question I'll ask. What could go wrong in salary expense account? What are the things that can go wrong? What are the possible risks? The possible risks are there can be fake employees, dummy employees, unrecorded bonuses, salary of directors misappropriated or properly not classified. All these things can go wrong. Okay. So what can go wrong? Second thing is this part. So is the risk very high? Yes, high risk. Is salary and high inherent risk? Tell me quickly. Is salary a high inherent risk item? Yes. Why? Because it is completely internal. Even in Satyam case it happened, okay? Now the third question I'll ask. Third question Mr. Don will ask. Which assertion am I testing? Which assertion am I testing? So, am I testing occurrence? Am I checking accuracy? According to this, you will know what expectations to have. So the third factor is which assertion am I testing? Decide that. Fourth thing, do I have reliable data Do I have reliable data to build my expectation? So if I'm saying that the salary should only be 70 lakh rupees or 65 lakh rupees, do I have reliable data? Which means, is there any HR employee list? Salary structure is there? Last year's payroll data is there? All these questions I'll ask. Okay, whether good data is available or not. Let's say good data is available. Okay, good data is available. Then what will I do? What is the next factor? I will think, instead of analyzing total salary of rupees 80 lakhs, let me break it down. Position wise. So I can ask for breakup. What breakup I can ask? Different staff categories, different management categories, different bonuses, different overtime payments. So can I disaggregate data? What does disaggregation means? What does aggregate mean? What does aggregate mean, student? What does aggregate mean? Aggregate का मतलब क्या होता है? Combined. So disaggregated का मतलब क्या होगा? What will disaggregate mean? What will disaggregate mean? If aggregate means to combine data, disaggregate means to separate and categorize the data. Okay? To separate and categorize data. Do you think analytical procedures will happen properly if separated data is not available? Suppose I have taken the decision that I will do substantive analytical procedure to check salary, but there is no segregated data available for different types of salary. Will I be able to do analytical procedures properly? So, is availability of disaggregated data an important factor? Is availability of disaggregated data an important factor? So let's say I have checked disaggregated data and I notice bonuses increased sharply because 6 members completed 20 years in the company. What did I come to know by doing this? What did I come to know by doing this? I found the source. I found the source. So disaggregation usually helps you to spot something unusual. Okay? That is not happening regularly. So instead of analyzing the total, so disaggregated data should be available to do analytical procedure. Next question I can ask is this type of account suitable for analytical procedure? So if the company has 3,60,000 employees, can you vouch each and every salary paid? If the company has 3,60,000 employees, or let's say 30 lakh employees, can you vouch it? So is salary account suitable for analytical procedure? Is this type of account suitable? Can we do analytical procedure then? I can't do each and every vouching. Then is analytical procedure suitable for salary account? Salary check करने के लिए analytical procedure suitable है कि नहीं है? To check salary, is analytical procedure suitable or not? Yes. So usually suitable for income and recurring expenses. So usually it is considered suitable. So the next factor I have to see before I decide whether I can do analytical procedure is whether it is a type of account that is suitable. Last one, where is my data coming from? It means source of information. So let's say here you ask for total number of employees. Total number of employees you are asking. And there is no record of it. And someone is telling you, mere hisab se, according to me, it should be 100, 120 employees. Is that a reliable information? Is that a reliable information? Do you think the results of your analytical procedure will be reliable? No. So the next important factor that affects your analytical procedure is source of information. If it is more independent source, the reliable is more analysis is more reliable. So more independent source or better internal control system equals to more reliable analysis. So if you are choosing, as an auditor, you are choosing that I want to apply analytical procedure as my way of finding misstatements and evidence. So I want to apply analytical procedure as a substantive analytical procedure. What questions you have to ask? What are the factors that affect substantive analytical procedure? First, is the data predictable? Second, what is the risk in this? How much risk is there? Which assertion do I want to test? Can I build a proper expectation? Is the data reliable? Can I disaggregate the data? Is the type of account suitable for analytical procedure? What is the source of my data? Now, if you'll see the book, factors to be considered for substantive analytical procedure: availability of data, disaggregation, account type, source, predictability, nature of assertion. What can go wrong? Can you see now? Factors to be considered. So, इन चीजों को मद्देनजर रखते हुए क्या मैं substantive analytical procedure use कर सकती हूँ? Same thing I'll say in English. Keeping all these things in mind, these factors will decide whether I can consider using substantive analytical procedure or not. Okay, I have created a trick for you to remember. Write down PINADAs, Cola PINADA. So, sif PINADA. PINADA, prediction, inherent risk, nature of assertion, availability of data, disaggregation, account type, source. Can you remember now? Factors to be considered for substantive analytical procedure, PINADAs. Can you remember? Am I audible, visible properly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now tell me, is this understood or not? A little heavy. I'll revise it quickly for you. Factors to be considered. These things you have to keep in mind when you're using substantive analytical procedures. PINADAs. What is PINADAs? You have to see whether the information on which you want to apply substantive analytical procedure, it should be predictable. It should be predictable. What kind of risk it has? If it has very, very high inherent risk, you have to find more concrete evidence. Then whether what is the nature of assertion? Okay. Then what is the availability of data? Whether that data can be disaggregated, what type of account it is, and what is the source of information. Clear? So please remember it properly. Factors to be considered. Mark this as important for theory answer. Mark this as important for theory. Pinadas, okay? Pindas, not Pindas, Maithili, Pinadas. Okay, Pinadas. So auditor should consider following factors for substantive analytical procedures. Availability of data. The availability of reliable and relevant data will facilitate effective analytical procedure. Disaggregation. It means the degree of disaggregation can directly affect the degree of usefulness. Remember, degree of disaggregation can directly affect the degree of usefulness. Account type. Substantive analytical procedure is more useful for certain types of accounts than for others. So income statement, that's why I told you P&L, income and predictable expenses are more useful for using analytical procedure. Whereas balance sheet items usually have net effect, and that is why there are more judgment involved. So you have to do more vouching and verification. Okay. So usually analytical procedures are more suitable for P&L items. Whereas in balance sheet items, you have to do more vouching verification, and you can use analytical procedure, but not as a primary evidence. Source, you have to see some classes of transaction become more predictable because they have many similar transactions. So you have to see whether different kind of transactions are being predictable and from where you are getting it. Next is predictability. Substantive analytical procedures are more appropriate when it becomes more predictable. Then nature of assertion. Nature of assertion. It may be more effective in providing evidence for some assertions. So it means it is very useful for knowing completeness and valuation. But tell me, what does it mean to, let's say, if I want to know whether inventory exists or not, or whether whether the rights and obligation for data exist or not, is analytical procedure useful then for those assertions? Is it useful for those kind of assertions? No. That time you have to do inspection, inquiry, external confirmation will be more useful. So it is not that for all assertions you can use substantive analytical procedure. So even if you are checking salary, for some assertions in salary, analytical procedure will be useful, but for some other assertions, inquiry might be useful. Okay. What is the question Aditi has asked? Ma'am, please explain meaning of significant class of transaction and risk. So significant class of transactions mean SCOT. Where is it? Yeah. Significant class of transactions basically means, let's say Aditi, I am running a pharmaceutical company like Dr. Reddy's. You all know Dr. Reddy's. So let's say I'm running a pharmaceutical company like Dr. Reddy's. What is a significant class of transaction in a company like Dr. Reddy's? Research and development expense, yes or no, everyone? In a company like pharmaceutical company, what is a significant class of transaction? Which means, which one is a significant transaction? Of course, R&D. Let's say in banks. In banks, what is the most significant class of transaction? You think on your own. In a bank, what is a significant class of transaction? Cash. Then what else? Loans. Yes. But we specifically, here it is saying non-routine. It means the transactions which are more routine and repetitive in nature, you can use analytical procedure. But substantive class of transactions, are transactions in companies' operations that are key to financial statements are not frequent. So in this, do you tell me now with your own logic, will I use substantive analytical procedure as primary evidence? If something is considered as one of the most important transaction to run that company, will I use only analytical procedure? No. So expenditure on R&D or research and advertisement is not of routine nature. They are subjected to a lot of judgment, and therefore they are more difficult to predict. More difficult to predict. So something that cannot be predicted, can you use analytical procedure for something that cannot be predicted? If something has not happened before, can we analyze it? So suppose you are auditing a company which has done invention of a new type of product. There are no competitors. There is no industry data. There is nothing to compare. So in that kind of company, can you use analytical procedure or do you have to do more vouching verification? If someone has created something for the first time, there is an invention, and there is no data available to compare and analyze, what will you have to do? More vouching and verification. So basically anything that is not frequent in nature and significant class of transaction means they are very material, we have to do other procedures. Okay. Is that clear, Aditi? You asked the question. Is that clear to you? Please let me know quickly so that I can move on. Aditi has vanished. Okay. Since there is no other question, I'm assuming she has understood. Last point is inherent risk. You tell me, if the inherent risk is very, very high, will you use only substantive analytical procedure? If the inherent risk is very, very high, will you use only substantive analytical procedure? Simple. When the inherent risk is higher, we may design test of details to address higher risk. When significant risk have been identified, the evidence solely from substantive analytical procedure is unlikely to be sufficient. Okay. So if the risk is very high, any kind of evidence only on substantive is not. So you have to use mix of vouching, verification, and analytical procedure. Okay. That's it. So this much is clear. We'll move on to the next topic. Remember, factors for substantive analytical procedure. What are the factors? Pinadas. Okay. Next, come to techniques. Techniques is very, very simple now. Now you have become masters in analytical procedure. There are 4 types of techniques. Trend analysis means comparing yourself to your last year or with any other person or any other industry. Ratio analysis, when you compare one financial information with other or one financial information with non-financial data. So any kind of ratios you do, that is with ratio analysis. Reasonableness test. Do you remember the chai and coffee example that I gave you? 20 employees are there and the tea and coffee expenses are 10 lakh rupees. Do you remember at the start of the class, I gave you this example? So if the employees are 20 and the expense of tea and coffee is 10 lakhs, are you using it? Are you doing any trend analysis or ratio analysis? No. What are you doing? Common sense. कि 20 लोगों में 10 लाख का चाय का खर्चा, it does not appear to be reasonable. So when an auditor applies his own prudence, you remember prudence? So when you are applying your own prudence and judgment, that is reasonableness. That is also a type of technique. That is also a type of technique. And structural modeling. Now, what does structural modeling means? It's like a big word, but it's very simple. So structural modeling means like linear regression. Let's say I create this relationship. So I say that every time there is 2 times increase in X, 2 times increase in X, it leads to 5 times increase in Y. What is this called as? What is this called as? Structural modeling. It means, let's say I analyze past 5 years of data. Okay. I analyze past 5 years of data. And I see that whenever sales go from 1 crore to 2 crore, so there's 2 times increase. Okay. So whenever the sales go from 1 crore to 2 crore, the datas go from 10 lakh to 50 lakh. Do you understand what I'm saying? What is the relationship? So anytime the sales increase by 2 times, the data is increased by 5 times. What is this called as? It's called as structural modeling. Everyone clear? What is it called as? Structural modeling. So when an auditor analyzes data, so relationship of X with changes in Y. So when you create this kind of structure to compare two things, that is called as structural modeling. Yes, it is used practically, especially for sales and debtors and purchases and creditors. Okay. It is also sometimes used between sales and inventory. That every time the sales increases by 2 times, there is a pattern that inventory increases by 4 times. So when you create this relationship of change in one with change in Y, that is called as structural modeling. So what are the 4 techniques to do substantive analytical procedure? Trend analysis, ratio analysis, reasonableness test, structural modeling. Again, say it with me. 4 techniques. One is trend analysis, comparing with your previous year data, comparing with budgets, comparing with forecast, comparing with anyone. That is trend analysis. Ratio analysis, calculating different kind of ratios, financial ratios, non-financial ratios to do analysis. This you have been learning since your 11th and 12th standard. Ratio analysis padha hai na? So that is also a type of analytical procedure. The third type technique to do analysis is doing reasonableness, means using common sense. And the fourth way of doing analytical procedure is structural modeling. Okay. But just remember, analytical procedure is purely creativity. If as an auditor, you are experienced and you have a lot of creativity, you will do substantive procedure better. So design of substantive procedure is limited only by availability of data and experience and creativity of the audit team. The more creative you are, the better you will be able to do these. So substantive analytical procedure can be trend analysis, most common, current data with prior period, one or more prior period. Then trend analysis can have account fluctuation. All these points are trend analysis. I have explained this again and again. I'm not repeating it now. Ratio analysis, again, analyzing asset and liability as well as revenue and expense by doing different kind of ratios. Trade receivables inventory ratio, freight expense to sales ratio, all these things, GP ratio, all these things are ratio analysis. Reasonableness test. This procedure does not rely on prior period, but upon non-financial data, which means, let's say that there is a hotel. Okay. Hotel. Now I cannot go and see whether someone actually stayed in the hotel. But what can I do? Total rooms multiplied by rate per night multiplied by 365 into occupancy rate. What is occupancy rate? What is occupancy rate? Yes. Number of days in a year for which usually hotel was occupied. So usually any hotel, any good hotel has an occupancy rate of 60 to 70%. Okay. So out of 365 days, it was at least occupied for, let's say, 60% times or 70% times. So you have to do like this, that total rooms, how many were there, how many rate, what is the rate per night, and how many nights it was occupied. So you can get an expected total revenue. So that is called as reasonableness verification. So occupancy rate to rental income and all that. These tests are generally more applicable to income statement accounts and certain prepayment accounts. Okay. So again, these examples are given. Structural modeling, a modeling tool that consists of statistical model from financial or non-financial data to predict current account balances. So nothing is given. I have given you an example actually. So any statistical data. So in past, if increase in 2 times of sales has become 5 times in increase in data, so how much will it increase this year? So you can do these analysis, that is called as structural modeling. So 4 techniques are over. Can I move on to next topic? Techniques are over. Okay. So if you want to use substantive procedure, analytical procedure as substantive test, pay attention. So if you want to use analytical procedure as substantive test, this is the process you'll follow. Okay. First is determine suitability of analytical procedure. What did I tell you? Is analytical procedure suitable for all types of accounts? Is analytical procedure suitable for all types of accounts? No. Is analytical procedure suitable for all types of assertions? Can I know existence of the inventory by doing analytical procedure? Is analytical procedure suitable when there is no predictable data available? If there is no patterns, if there is no predictable data available in the past, can I use? No. So the first important step is determine suitability, which I have taught you in the previous topics. So determine the suitability. Okay, it is suitable. You have decided it is suitable. Then evaluate reliability of data. Now you will study the concepts are completed. Now you're just studying some theory answers that you need to memorize properly. ये सब concept मैंने आपको पढ़ा दिया है. अब आपको सब समझ में आएगा. You will understand everything. So first I'll decide whether analytical procedure is suitable for this kind of procedure, for this type of account. Then you will see, okay, it is suitable. So I gave you salary example, right? Now for salary, the data is available, whether that data is reliable or not. Third step is develop an expectation. Can you do analytical procedure if you have nothing to compare it with? क्या आप किसी चीज का एनालिसिस कर सकते हैं अगर आपके पास उसको कंपेयर करने के लिए कुछ नहीं है? Can you do any analysis if there is nothing to compare? No. So develop an expectation. And then compare actual with expectation and determine acceptable difference. Okay, determine acceptable difference. So let's say that your prediction is that for 20 employees, the tea and coffee expenses should be 1,20,000. Now actual is 1,10,000. Is this 10,000 rupee difference okay to you? Is this 10,000 rupee difference okay to you? But क्या ऐसे सिर्फ सोच के कर लेंगे तो चलेगा या ये लिखना पड़ेगा? Do you have to write it down? So when you are making plan, that time itself you have to write, okay, acceptable difference is 10,000 to 15,000 rupees. We should note down that what is my tolerable difference. कितना difference से मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. How much difference is okay with me? Okay. If rent, actual paid rent, if your expectation of rent is 45,000 rupees and actual rent paid is 40,000 rupees, is this difference acceptable to you? Write it down. That for some CA, is it possible that this tolerable difference can be different from CA to CA? Is it possible that this can be different from CA to CA? Lohit might say that my acceptable range is only 2,000 rupees, whereas Maithili might say my acceptable range is 5,000 rupees. Is it possible there can be difference? But whatever is your expectation and whatever is your tolerable range, please mention it in your working papers, in your audit documentation. So if you want to use analytical procedures as substantive test, first decide, can you even use it? Determine suitability. If it is suitable, is it reliable? Because to do analytical procedure, you need a lot of data. Is that data reliable? Suitable bhi hai, reliable bhi hai. Then develop an expectation and then compare it with the actual. This much is clear? Now mark this answer as the most important theory answer of the chapter. This is the most important theory answer of the chapter, not chapter, essay 520. This is the most important theory answer of essay 520. So analytical procedure used as substantive test. While designing and performing analytical procedure either alone or in combination, you have to do the following. Okay. So determine suitability for given assertions, taking account of assessed risk of material misstatement and test of details. So how much risk you have found, decide whether as per that for the assertions, whether you can use this or not, is suitable or not. Decide the reliability of data. We'll study this more. Develop an expectation of recorded amount of ratios and evaluate whether expectation is sufficiently precise to identify. This again, we will study more. And determine whether how much amount of difference between recorded and expected amount is acceptable without further investigation. How much can you accept without further investigation? Now, each of this has a separate answer. Each of this has a separate answer. So each thing, suitability, reliability कैसे check करेंगे, expectation कैसे create करेंगे, and amount of difference. This is fully given as a separate answer. Okay. So this we'll study individually. Suitability of particular analytical procedure. When is it suitable? This has come as a short note. It can come as a short note. So substantive analytical procedure is suitable when there is large volume of transaction that has become predictable. So when is it more suitable? When it is more predictable. Then there is a relationship between data that continues to exist in absence of known conditions to the contrary, which means I am assuming this relationship is continuing. I don't have any reason to not believe it. Matlab, unless and until something else has happened, in absence of known other conditions, I will assume that the relationship is continuing the same way. Okay. Suitability also depends on how effective is your misstatement detection category. Okay. And predictive model can be used as an analytical procedure. What does it mean? See this example. If entity has a known number of employees at fixed rate of pay throughout the period, it is possible for auditor to use this data to estimate the total payroll cost for the period with high degree of accuracy. That is why thereby providing audit evidence for a significant item and reducing the need to perform test on details. The use of widely recognized ratios like profit margins can often be used effectively in substantive analytical procedure to provide evidence. Did you study anything new? Yes, पढ़ चुके हो ना? This concept is already clear. Anything new? I gave you the whole case study for the factors, right? This whole case study for the factors. This is the base. This is the base. So how does an auditor decide what is suitable? Anything that becomes predictable over a period of time, when the relationship between the data continues to exist without any changes, and if you are able to create some predictive model, which means the sales increases between 9% to 11% every year. So if you are able to create such predictive models, then it is suitable. Okay. Otherwise, it is not suitable. You can read these examples. These are just examples. You can read this on your own. Just remember this. Different types of analytical procedure provide different level of assurance. Okay. Different types of analytical procedure provide different level of assurance. You can read this on your own. Come on, reliability of data. How to check reliability? This is again separate popular question. How to check reliability of data if you want to use that data to do analytical procedure. Okay. You have to see what is the source of information, whether the information is comparable, nature and relevance of information, and controls over preparation of the information. Okay. What does this mean? Pay attention, please. Reliability of data be used as if you want to check reliability. How do you check? First, how and where did you find the data source? Is it by some government? Is it by outside the entity? Is it by inside the entity? Is it some published data? So, source. If the source is better, information is more reliable. Second, what we'll check? Comparability. What is comparability? Let's say A is a textile company. B is also textile company. I'm comparing that in A, gross profit is 33%. In B, it's 18%. And I say, oh my God, so much difference. But A is doing saris and B is doing denim jackets. Are they comparable? Both are textile industry, but are they comparable? So data, if you want to use, it should be what? Comparable. Okay. So if I want to check reliability of data, first I check the source. Second, I check whether it is comparable. Third is nature and relevance of information. Let's say company has created a goal, vision that we will have 100 crores sales next year. Is this a usable information? Is this a relevant information for me as an auditor to do analytical procedure? company has created a goal of 100 crore sales. But there is a budget forecast that says the sale as per the previous pattern, it will be 15 crores. Which is a more reliable data for me to use as an auditor? Which is the more relevant data, budget and forecast or goals of the company? Let's say, Karan, your goal is that you want to have an all India rank. Okay. But in past 1 month, your pattern is that you study for 10 minutes. So what is a more reliable comparison or an analysis for me? That 10 minutes you are studying for past 1 month or the AIR goal that you have? The 10 minutes that you're studying. As an auditor, goals are of no use to us. When we are doing substantive analytical procedure, you have to see budget and forecast. It is the relevant data, not the goals. Is that clear? Next, tell me this. Will the data be more reliable if internal control system is strong? If the controls are strong, will the data be more reliable? So if the HR is giving me the salary sheet, if the HR is very strong, can I rely on the salary sheet they have given me? Yes. So the fourth thing that affects the reliability is controls over preparation of information. If the controls are strong, the data will be more reliable. So what affects the data? Data, reliability of data किन चीजों पे dependent है? उसका source क्या है? वो कितना comparable है? वो कितना relevant है? And उसके ऊपर कितने controls हैं? Everyone clear? What is the source of the data? How comparable it is? How relevant it is? And what controls are there on the preparation of the data? Completed? Reliability of data. So how to check reliability? Now this you will write with examples in exam. So if you get this question for 4 marks, plus mention essay 520. So if you get this question in exam, these points you have to write with examples. So source of information should be available. Information may be more reliable when it is obtained from independent sources outside. Comparability. Broad industry data may need to be supplemented to be comparable to an entity that produces and sells specialized products. So I gave you the example of jeans and saris. Nature and relevance of information available. Even in sari industry, can you compare the silk sari industry with synthetic sari industry? Can you compare their GP ratio and NP ratios? Can you compare their wastages? No, you can't. So the more disaggregated the data is, the more it is comparable and usable. Okay. Nature and relevance of information, whether budgets have been established as expected rather than goals. We don't focus on goals, we focus more on budgets. Controls over preparation of information that are designed to ensure accuracy, completeness, and validity. What does controls ensure? Always remember, it ensures completeness, accuracy, validity. So controls over preparation, if it's better controlled, then the reliability is better. Okay. So this much is finished. We'll finish this and we'll continue the rest tomorrow. Little bit only is left. Or do you want me to extend the time and finish it today? Ma'am, reliability is also in SA 500. Yes. Okay. Let's finish this topic. The auditor may consider testing the operating effectiveness of controls. So you can check the controls. We have already studied this. Where do we test the control, students? Test of controls, right? Test of controls may we check it, okay? Ma'am, can we say aggregated data is total data and disaggregated data is specific data? Yeah, sort of. Okay. Yeah. So where were we here? So auditor may consider testing the operating effectiveness over the preparation of information used by auditor in performing substantive analytical procedure in response to assessed risk. When such controls are effective, auditor has more confidence in reliability of information and therefore in the results of analytical procedure. The operating effectiveness of controls over non-financial information may often be tested in conjunction with other tests of controls. What does it mean? It means that as an auditor, if you are checking something, suppose you are checking production registers or cost data sheets. So if the cost data sheet of production of paint or baskets is reliable, it means you can use it for substantive analytical procedure and your analysis will be reliable. That's it. Same thing being repeated. If the controls over sales is reliable, then automatically what is tested in conjunction? In together. Tested in conjunction means together, along with. Okay. So here, along with. Tested along with other test of controls. That it means tested in conjunction, together. Do you remember English grammar? And is a conjunction, together, which brings this and part A and part B together. That is a conjunction. So you can just write it here. Or along with. Okay. So that's it. We are done with reliability of data. So how do we check the reliability of data? Source of information, comparability of information, nature and relevance of information, control over the preparation of the information. Okay. Okay, still 3-4 pages are there. So we'll do this tomorrow. Not tomorrow, in the next class. We'll do a few MCQs. Pay attention. Which of the following is not an analytical procedure? Tracing of purchases recorded in the purchase book. Tracing of purchases recorded in the purchase book to purchases invoices. Comparing aggregate wages paid, comparing actual cost, all of them are analytical procedure. Which of them is not an analytical procedure? A, C, D. Majority is saying A. A. This is vouching and verification. The first one is vouching and verification, not analytical procedure. Next. Which of the following statement is correct? Substantive analytical procedure are generally more applicable to large volumes of transactions that tend to be predictable over time, or generally less applicable to large volumes of transactions that are predictable over time. More applicable to small volumes of transactions that are predictable over time. Which one is the correct answer? None of the above. Which statement is correct? Read it. Take 10 seconds. A, D, B. Less applicable. D, less applicable to large volume. A is the correct answer. It is more applicable to large volume that become predictable over time. Okay. Next. What is the primary objective of auditor used in the overall review stage to help? No, this I have not taught you yet. This will cover next time. Come to question 16. As per standards of auditing, analytical procedure, the term analytical procedure means evaluation of financial information through analysis of plausible relationship amongst financial data. Analysis procedure also encompasses such an investigation as is necessary for identified fluctuations or relationships that are inconsistent with relevant information or that differ with expected values. Which statement is correct? Tell me which answer is correct. Both. How many of you say both are correct? Both statements are correct. Only statement 2 is correct. Kashish is saying. Rest all of you are saying C. All of you are saying C. All of you are saying C. Very bad. I spent 20 minutes to explain one definition. I spent 20 minutes to help you learn and help you memorize that definition. यहाँ पे and non-financial data कहाँ है? Statement 1 is correct. Is statement 1 correct? Tell me now. Then how did you say statement A is correct? These are the mistakes you make in exam. You don't take time to read the question properly. Only statement 2 is correct. Which is the comparison of current data with prior period balances? This though you all have to give correct. For 2.5 hours, I have been giving the same example. Trend analysis. D, A, B, B. Auditor compares gross profit ratio with that of previous year and it is discovered that there is fall in the ratio. It is an example of. Now this question is easy now. Abhi iska answer bahut easy hai. But in exam, when all chapter questions are mixed with each other, yes or no? When all chapter questions are mixed with each other, that time you should be able to identify that this is a question of analytical procedure. Understood? Okay, that's it for today. We'll meet again next time in next class. Yes, Josh? If you have any questions, please ask.
यस मैम मैम एक्चुअली एक छोटा सा डाउट था लाइक वो भी चैप्टर 2 से था जो कि आपने हमें जो पीडीएफ दिया था ना मैम अपने नोट्स का हैंड रिटन नोट्स का तो मैम उसमें ना शायद एक पेज मिसिंग है
कौन सा
मैम एक्चुअली जब आप हमें पढ़ा रहे थे ना तब आपने उसमें एडवांटेजेस और डिसएडवांटेजेस अपना एक ना रिटर्न पीडीएफ दिखाया था
ओके
हाँ और बट जो मैम अपलोडेड है ना उसमें उसमें वो वाला सेक्शन नहीं है बस आज मैं रिवाइज कर रहा था
ओके ओके मैं आई सी की कौन सी फाइल अपलोड हो गई है सो एक प्रीवियस फाइल भी थी क्योंकि मैंने वो नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में करवाया था आई थिंक सेम लेक्चर में नहीं करवाया था लेक्चर नंबर 2 में करवाया था तो आई विल चेक इट ओके थैंक यू फॉर ब्रिंगिंग इट टू माय नोटिस थैंक यू
ओके नो मैम नो वरीज थैंक यू मैम
So I know audit is theory heavy, but I hope that you are learning in class. I do not promise that the classes will be entertaining because we are not here for entertainment, but I promise that the classes will be very learning oriented with lots of examples and memorization techniques. Okay. So it takes effort to attend class as much as it takes effort for a teacher to teach class. So if you are attending classes regularly, I would like to commend you because you will reap the benefits of it later on when you're writing exams. Okay. So good job on you also if you are attending classes regularly. Okay. Because I know it takes effort. I was also a student. Okay. But it's very important. It's a very important subject. Okay. All right. Good night, everyone. Take care. I'll end the class now. See you in the next class. Technical team, we can end the class now. Thank you.